The Comanche warriors left Ayana Windwalker in the desert to die. Her hands were bound with rawhide. Her medicine bag lay torn in the sand beside her knees. Chief Running Bear sat his horse above her. The sun carved shadows across his weathered face. He was her uncle. He had taught her to gather sage when she was small. You chose their lives over Comanche honor. The words fell between them like stones. Ayana's throat burned with thirst and unshed tears. She had warned the Morrison family about the raid. She had watched their children flee into the night. She had saved them. The desert will decide if you deserve to live. 4 warriors turned. Their horses. Dust rose behind them. Ayana watched until they became specks against the horizon. Then she was alone with the silence and the heat. She stumbled forward. Her legs shook beneath her. The sun pressed down on her shoulders. She thought of the Morrison children. Their faces had been pale in the moonlight. Their mother had clutched a baby to her chest. The carved wooden horse fell from her belt. She knelt and gathered it up. Her son had made it before the cavalry came. Before the fever took him. Before everything went wrong. Hours passed. The sun moved across the sky. Ayana's shadow shortened and lengthened. She walked toward nothing. The desert stretched endlessly. In all directions. She began to see things that were not there. Her son running ahead of her. Water where there was only sand. Trees that dissolved when she reached for them. The horse remained solid in her palm. She pressed it against her chest and kept walking. Ezra McKinnon found her at sunset. He was searching for stray cattle with his daughter Clementine. The girl rode beside him on a gentle mare. Her braids bounced with each step. Ayana lay crumpled near a dried creek bed. Her lips were cracked. Her skin burned red from the sun. She clutched something in her fist. "Papa." Clementine's voice was small. "She's Indian." Ezra dismounted. He knelt beside Ayana and pressed his fingers to her throat. Her pulse fluttered like a bird's wing. "She'll scalp us." Clementine's mare danced sideways. "That's what they do." Ezra looked at his daughter. 8 years old and already carrying fear in her heart. He thought of his wife Mary. She had never spoken of any people with hatred. "Get the water." Clementine hesitated. Her father's voice carried quiet authority. She passed down the canteen. Ezra lifted Ayana's head. Water trickled between her lips. She coughed and opened her eyes. They were dark and filled with pain. "Please." Her voice was barely a whisper. "I saved children like her." The words hit Ezra in the chest. He glanced at Clementine. His daughter stared down at them with wide eyes. "We need to get her to the house." "Papa, no." Ezra stood. He was not a large man, but his presence filled the space around them. Years of working the land had carved strength into his frame. "Help me get her on the horse." They rode back in silence. Ayana slumped against Ezra's back. Clementine followed at a distance. The sun set behind them, painting the sky red. The ranch house sat in a hollow between 2 hills. Smoke rose from the chimney. Tobias Gray emerged from the barn. He was older than Ezra, his hair white as cotton. He had worked the land here for 3 years. "Lord have mercy." Tobias saw Ayana and shook his head. "This is trouble. She needs help. She's Comanche. Sheriff Garrett comes looking for Indians every week. You want to explain this to him?" Ezra carried Ayana into the house. The main room was simple, a stone fireplace, a wooden table. Mary's rocking chair in the corner. Everything spoke of careful living. He laid Ayana on the sofa. Clementine pressed herself against the wall. Her face was pale. "Get the medicine kit." Tobias appeared in the doorway. "This is foolishness. Send her back where she came from. She die. Better her than us." Ezra looked at his friend. Tobias had found them during a blizzard 2 winters past. Half frozen and running from something he never spoke about. Ezra had taken him in without questions. Mary would have helped. The name hung in the air. Tobias's expression softened. Mary McKinnon had been kind to everyone. She had died bringing Clementine into the world. Ayanna stirred. Her eyes opened and focused on the room around her. She saw the medicine kit on the table, the small bottles, and wrapped herbs. She recognized some of them. Your wife knew healing, Ezra nodded. She learned from a Comanche woman. During the big snow, Ayanna's breath caught. She remembered that night. A white woman in labor. The blizzard howling outside. She had helped bring a child into the world. What was the baby's name? Clementine. Ayanna turned toward the girl. Recognition flickered in her eyes. She had held this child when she was born. She had cleaned her and wrapped her in blankets. I was there. The words fell into silence. Clementine stared at her. Ezra felt something shift in his chest. You helped Mary? She was brave. She thanked me. Tobias moved to the window. He peered through the curtains. Someone's coming. Hoofbeats echoed across the yard. Ezra recognized the sound. 3 horses. Sheriff Garrett always traveled with 2 deputies. Upstairs. Now. Ezra helped Ayanna to her feet. She swayed but managed to walk. They reached the landing as the knock came at the door. Stay quiet. He closed the bedroom door and went downstairs. Tobias had already opened the front door. Sheriff Garrett stood on the porch. He was a thick man with small eyes. His deputies flanked him. Evening, McKinnon. Sheriff. Looking for Indian raiders. Had reports of tracks heading this way. Ezra kept his face neutral. Haven't seen any. Garrett's eyes swept the room. They lingered on the sofa where Ayanna had been lying. Mind if we look around? This is my home. And this is my county. The sheriff pushed past them. His boots echoed on the wooden floor. He opened closets and checked corners. He climbed the stairs. Ezra followed. His heart hammered against his ribs. Garrett opened the bedroom door. The room was empty. The window stood open. Curtains moved in the breeze. Thought I smelled something. Probably supper. Garrett studied him. You always were soft on Indians. Just like your wife. The words carried poison. Ezra's hands clenched into fists. Tobias appeared behind them. Sheriff, we got work to do. Unless you got something specific, Garrett smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. I'll be watching this place. They left. Ezra waited until the hoofbeats faded. Then he called softly. They're gone. Ayanna emerged from the root cellar. Tobias had hidden her there while Garrett climbed the stairs. She was shaking, but her eyes were clear. I have to leave. I'm putting you in danger. Where will you go? I don't know. Clementine spoke from the stairs. Mama used to say the desert was beautiful, but it was also hungry. Ayanna looked at the child. The girl she had helped bring into the world. Your mother was wise. She said people were the same way. Beautiful and hungry. The words settled over them. Outside, the wind picked up. It rattled the windows and whispered through the eaves. Ayanna touched the carved horse in her pocket. I'll leave at dawn. But even as she spoke, she knew something had changed. The connection between them was fragile but real. She had saved this child once. Now this family was saving her. The desert had not claimed her, but it had brought her here. To this place, where her past and present collided. Where mercy existed in the space between worlds. She looked at Ezra, at Tobias, at Clementine on the stairs. They were all refugees in their own ways, all seeking shelter from the storms that had shaped them. Tomorrow would bring new dangers, but tonight she was not alone. Dawn broke gray across the valley. Ayanna sat at the kitchen table, her hands wrapped around a cup of coffee. The liquid had gone cold an hour ago. She had not moved to warm it. Ezra found her there when he came downstairs. She had braided her hair and straightened her dress. Her few possessions lay bundled beside the door. The road is dangerous alone. More dangerous for you if I stay. Clementine appeared in the doorway. Sleep creased her face. She studied Ayana with the intensity only children possessed. You really helped birth me? I held you first. Before anyone else. The girl absorbed this. Something shifted in her expression. Fear gave way to curiosity. Hoofbeats echoed across the yard. Ezra moved to the window. A woman rode hard toward the house, her horse lathered with sweat, her face streaked with tears. Widow Hansen collapsed against the porch railing. Her hands shook as she clutched the wooden post. Words tumbled from her lips between gasps. My boys, both of them. The fever came in the night. Ezra helped her inside. She was a sturdy woman, built for hard work and harder seasons. Now she seemed fragile as glass. Dr. Whitmore says it's cholera. Says there's nothing to be done. Ayana stood, the bundle by the door forgotten. How long have they been sick? Since yesterday. They can't keep water down, can't stop the shaking. What treatments has the doctor tried? Widow Hansen looked at her with desperate eyes. You know healing? Sarah Morrison said you might. Sawad Ezra's housekeeper knows medicine. Ayana glanced at Ezra. He nodded slightly. A lie to protect them both. I know some things. Then please. I'll pay anything. Give anything. Ayana thought of her son. The fever that had taken him. The helplessness that had eaten at her soul. She touched the carved horse in her pocket. I'll need supplies. Willow bark, sage, clean water. I'll get them. Ezra was already reaching for his coat. No. Too dangerous if we're seen together. Send Tobias. The older man emerged from the barn. He listened to the list without comment. His face remained neutral. But something in his eyes had changed. This is foolishness. We're all going to hang. Then we hang for something worthwhile. Tobias looked at Widow Hansen. At her tear-stained face and trembling hands. He had children once. In another life. Before the world went wrong, I'll get the supplies. He rode toward town. Ayana prepared for the deception. She bound her hair differently, darkened her skin with dirt and ash, spoke with the accent of the Mexican women who worked the larger ranches. Call me Ana, I'm your housekeeper. I learned healing from my grandmother. The ride to the Hansen place was tense. Clementine insisted on coming. She sat behind Ayana on the horse, her small arms wrapped around the woman's waist. Will they die? Not if I can help it. The Hansen twins lay burning with fever, Thomas and Timothy. 8 years old and identical in their suffering. Their mother hovered beside the bed, wringing her hands. Dr. Whitmore stood nearby. He was a good man, trained in Eastern medicine. But the frontier had taught him humility. He had learned to accept help from unexpected sources. What do you suggest? Ayana examined the boys. Their pulses were rapid. Their skin hot and dry. She had seen this before. She knew what worked. Willow bark tea for the fever, sage water for the stomach. Small sips every few minutes. That's Indian medicine. It's medicine that works. Dr. Whitmore considered this. He had lost 3 patients to cholera in the past week. His textbooks offered little hope. Show me. Ayana prepared the remedies. She spoke in broken English, maintaining the deception. But her hands moved with practiced skill. The knowledge flowed through her fingers. The boys drank the tea. Their mother held them upright. Ayana worked through the night, adjusting treatments, monitoring their breathing. Dawn brought improvement. The fever broke. The boys kept water down. Color returned to their cheeks. Widow Hansen wept. She pressed coins into Ayana's palm. You saved them. You saved my children. Dr. Whitmore pulled Ayana aside. Where did you learn this? My grandmother. She knew the old ways. Would you teach me? Ayana met his eyes. She saw genuine desire to help, No judgment, no suspicion. Yes, word spread through the valley. More families came seeking help. The cholera was spreading faster than wildfire. Dr. Whitmore's reputation grew as patients recovered under his care. He never mentioned his silent partner, the housekeeper who prepared remedies and whispered instructions. Aina became a ghost in the medical practice, present but invisible. Ayana found rhythm in the work, purpose in the healing. She had been cast out for saving lives. Now she saved more lives in secret. Clementine became her constant companion. The girl learned to prepare teas and mix powders. Her fear transformed into fascination. Mama wrote about plants in her journal. Were you the one who taught her? We taught each other. She wrote about you. About the woman who helped when I was born. Ayana's breath caught. Mary had remembered her, had written about their brief encounter in the storm. What did she say? That you were brave. That you stayed when others would have run. The words settled in Ayana's chest. She had carried guilt about that night for years, wondering if she had interfered, if she had been welcome. Your mother was braver. She trusted a stranger. She trusted everyone. Papa says that's why she died. The child's words carried weight beyond her years. Ayana looked at her, really looked. She saw Mary's kindness in the girl's eyes, but also strength. The ability to survive loss. Trust is not weakness, it's courage. Tobias found them in the garden, gathering herbs. His face was grim. He had been to town. He carried news. Sheriff Garrett's asking questions. Wants to know how Dr. Whitmore suddenly became a miracle worker. Ayana's hands stilled on the sage plant. What kind of questions? About who's been helping him, about strangers in town, about Mexican housekeepers who know Indian medicine. The web of deception was fraying. Ayana had known it would happen. She had hoped for more time. I have to disappear. Where will you go? Away from here, before he connects me to you. Clementine looked up from the herbs. But people need you. The Hendersons' baby is sick. The Morrisons' grandmother has the fever. Other people will help them, not like you do. The truth of it hit Ayana in the chest. She had found her calling in this strange place, among people who had been enemies, among a family that had become her own. Ezra appeared in the garden doorway. His face was pale. Dr. Whitmore sent word. He needs Aina at the clinic. Emergency. Ayana looked at the herbs in her hands, at Clementine's trusting face, at the house where she had found shelter. One more patient, then I go. But as she prepared to leave, she felt the weight of all the lives hanging in the balance. The children who would die without her knowledge, the families who would suffer. She thought of her son, of the fever that had taken him, of her failure to save the one life that mattered most. Perhaps this was her chance for redemption, not in the healing itself, but in the choice to keep healing, to keep trying, to keep saving children when she could not save her own. The carved horse pressed against her palm, a reminder of loss, but also of love that transcended death. She would go to the clinic. She would save who she could, and then she would decide whether to run or stay, whether to hide or fight. The desert had tested her. The exile had broken her. But this place, these people, were rebuilding her, one patient at a time, one act of mercy at a time. The sun climbed higher. The day demanded its choices. Ayana mounted her horse and rode toward town, toward the sick and the dying, toward the reckoning that awaited. Tobias pressed his back against the alley wall. The voices drifted through the saloon window above him. He had followed Sheriff Garrett into town, staying in the shadows. The cholera's almost burned itself out. Garrett's voice carried the weight of frustration. Time's running short. A second man spoke, Eastern accent. Expensive clothes. You said you could deliver the McKinnon place. I have investors waiting. I can deliver. But this miracle doctor. is making people want to stay. Should have been mass graves by now. Tobias's jaw tightened. The conspiracy stretched wider than he had imagined. What about the Indian woman? The one you've been hunting? She's here somewhere. When I find her, I'll use her to force McKenna off his land. Dead or alive, she's worth something. The voices moved away from the window. Tobias slipped back into the shadows. His mind raced with the implications. Garrett wanted the cholera to kill more people, wanted families to flee, wanted to seize their land cheap. He rode hard back to the ranch. The sun beat down on his shoulders. Sweat darkened his shirt. He had information that could destroy them all. Ezra met him at the corral. You look like you've seen ghosts. Worse, I've seen the future. Tobias told him everything. The land speculation, the planned seizures, Garrett's connection to Eastern money. The pieces fell into place with terrible clarity. He's been feeding information to raiders, telling them which ranches to hit, then claiming the abandoned land. Ezra's face went pale. The Morrison raid. The one that got Ayanna exiled. Garrett set it up. He wanted their water rights. The betrayal cut deep. Garrett had orchestrated the violence that destroyed lives, had used tribal conflicts to line his own pockets. Where's Ayanna? Still at the clinic. Dr. Whitmore sent word. More patients coming in. Ezra saddled his horse. We have to warn her. Too late. They looked up to see dust clouds on the horizon. Riders approaching fast. Garrett and his deputies heading straight for the ranch. Take Clementine. Get to the clinic. Tell Ayanna to run. But Tobias shook his head. She won't leave the sick. You know that. The riders drew closer. Ezra felt the weight of impossible choices. Protect his daughter or save the woman who had. Save them all. Hide Clementine in the root cellar. I'll handle Garrett. What about Ayanna? She have to handle herself. At the clinic, Ayanna worked over a fevered child. The Henderson baby, barely 6 months old. His breathing was shallow. His skin burned with heat. Dr. Whitmore watched her prepare another remedy. You're not Mexican, are you? Ayanna's hands stilled. Why do you ask? The plants you use. The methods. They're Comanche medicine. I've read about them. She met his eyes, saw understanding there, not accusation. Does it matter? Only that you're saving lives. The baby's breathing eased. His mother wept with relief. Ayanna felt the familiar satisfaction of healing. The purpose that had driven her since childhood. There's something else. Dr. Whitmore's voice dropped. Sheriff Garrett was asking about you. About Aina. He knows you're not what you claim to be. Fear prickled down Ayanna's spine. What did you tell him? Nothing. But he's persistent. And he's got help. Outside, horses gathered in the street. Voices rose in angry discussion. Ayanna moved to the window. Sheriff Garrett stood surrounded by townspeople. His face was flushed with authority. The Indian woman is here, among us. Spreading disease and God knows what else. She's been helping people. Mrs. Hanson stepped forward. She saved my boys. She's been poisoning them, making them dependent on her witchcraft. Ayanna's blood ran cold. Garrett was turning the town against her, using their fear to destroy the trust she had built. I have to go. Wait. Dr. Whitmore grabbed her arm. Let me handle this. You can't. This is about more than medicine. She slipped out the back door. The alley was empty, but she could hear voices growing louder. Garrett's lies spreading through the crowd. At the ranch, Ezra faced the sheriff across his own porch. Garrett's confidence had grown. He no longer bothered with pretense. Where is she? Who? The Indian woman, Ayanna Windwalker. Wanted for murder and theft. Ezra's face remained neutral. Don't know any Indians. You're lying. And when I prove it, I'll have grounds to seize this place. Harboring fugitives is a federal crime. You'd need proof. Garrett smiled. I'll get it. His deputies spread out, searching the barn and outbuildings. They found nothing. Clementine remained hidden in the root cellar, her breathing barely audible in the dark space. This isn't over, McKinnon. I know she's here, and when I find her, you'll lose everything. They rode away. Ezra waited until the dust settled before releasing Clementine. She emerged pale but determined. Where's Ayanna? I don't know. We have to find her. We have to stay alive. But even as he spoke, Ezra felt the pull of loyalty. Ayanna had saved his daughter's life twice, had brought healing to their community, had shown courage he could barely comprehend. In the desert, Ayanna rode hard toward the old camp, the place where her people had lived before the world changed. She needed time to think, to plan, to decide whether to run or fight. The camp was empty. Wind moved through abandoned shelters. Ghosts of better times haunted the spaces between. Shadows. She dismounted near the medicine lodge, the place where she had learned healing, where she had prepared for the trials that shaped her. Hoofbeats echoed across the desert floor. Not pursuing cavalry, but something else, something familiar. Chief Running Bear emerged from the heat shimmer. 4 warriors rode beside him. Their faces were grim with purpose. Uncle, Ayanna. They sat their horses, studying each other. The space between them filled with unspoken history. The sickness has come to our people. Her breath caught. Cholera, the children are dying. The elders speak of you. Of the white woman's medicine you learned. I am exiled, banished from the tribe. You are our healer, the only one who might save them. The weight of choice settled on her shoulders. Return to the people who had cast her out. Risk everything to save the children who reminded her of her own lost son. Why should I help? You left me to die. Because you are who you are. Because you cannot turn away from suffering. The truth of it burned in her chest. She had saved enemy children, had healed the sick among people who feared her, had chosen mercy over revenge at every turn. The town also needs me. The white families are still dying. Choose them over us. As you did before, I chose children over war. I would make the same choice again. Running Bear nodded slowly. Then choose both. Save who you can. Be the bridge between worlds. Garrett will kill me if I return. Then we will be there when he tries. The offer hung between them. Alliance instead of exile. Partnership instead of banishment. The white families will not trust you. They trust you. That is enough. Ayanna looked at her uncle, at the warriors who had once dragged her into the desert, saw the same desperate love for children that had driven her from the beginning. I'll need supplies, medicine, time to prepare. You'll have them, and protection. For the white family that sheltered me, they showed you mercy. We will show them the same. The sun began its descent toward the horizon. Soon darkness would cover the land, hide the movement of people with dangerous choices to make. Ayanna mounted her horse. The carved wooden horse pressed against her palm, her son's gift, her reminder of what mattered most. She rode toward town, toward the sick and the dying, toward the confrontation that would determine everything. Behind her, the warriors followed. An unlikely alliance forged in the crucible of shared desperation. 2 peoples united by the simple desire to save their children. The desert had tested her. The exile had broken her. But this moment would define her. Not as victim or outcast, but as healer, as bridge, as woman who chose love over fear. The town lights flickered ahead. Garrett's trap waited. But so did Dr. Whitmore. So did the families who needed her. So did the choice between hiding and standing, between running and fighting, between the safety of exile and the danger of hope. Federal marshals arrived at dawn. Their blue uniforms cut sharp lines against the desert horizon. Marshal Thompson rode at the head of the column, his face weathered by years of frontier justice. Sheriff Garrett met them at the town limits. His smile was forced. Too wide, too eager. "Marshal Thompson, thank you for coming. Got your telegram. About Indian uprisings. Where's the trouble?" "Hiding in plain sight. Comanche woman's been poisoning our people. Spreading disease." Thompson's eyes narrowed. "Thought you said she was raiding settlements. She is. Different kind of raid. Attacking us from the inside." The marshal studied Garrett's face. Something felt wrong. Too convenient. Too clean. "Where is she now?" "The clinic. Pretending to be a healer." They rode toward the center of town. People gathered in doorways. Faces showed confusion, not fear. Thompson had seen real Indian troubles. This didn't feel the same. At the clinic, Ayanna worked over a fevered child. The Morrison boy, barely 5 years old. His breathing was shallow. His skin burned with heat. Dr. Whitmore stood beside her. "His fever's breaking. Keep him cool. Small sips of water." "Aina, we need to talk." She looked up, saw the worry in his eyes. "The marshals? They're coming." Garrett's leading them. Ayanna's hands stilled on the child's forehead. She had known this moment would come, had prepared for it in her heart. "What will you tell them? The truth. You saved this town." "They won't care about that." "I care. The families you healed." "Care." Outside, horses stopped in the street. Boots struck the wooden sidewalk. Voices rose in official authority. "Stay with the boy." Ayanna moved toward the front door. "Whatever happens, keep helping people." Dr. Whitmore caught her arm. "You don't have to face this alone." "Yes, I do." The door opened. Marshal Thompson entered first. His eyes swept the room, taking in the clean space, the organized supplies, the sick child being tended. "You Aina Morales?" "I am Ayanna Windwalker." The truth fell into silence. "No more deception, no more hiding. You're under arrest for inciting rebellion and spreading disease." "She's been healing people." Dr. Whitmore stepped forward. "This woman has saved more lives than you can count." "That's not what Sheriff Garrett says." "Sheriff Garrett is a liar." Thompson's attention sharpened. "Strong words, Doctor. I have proof." Tobias appeared in the doorway. His face was grim. His hands held documents. "Found these in Garrett's office. Bills of sale for land that ain't been sold yet. Contracts with Eastern investors." The papers scattered across the examination table. Land deeds, survey maps, financial agreements. The conspiracy laid bare in black ink. Garrett's been using Indian raids to seize property. Been working with land speculators to steal from settlers. Marshal Thompson studied the documents. His expression darkened. "These are federal crimes." "Wait." Garrett pushed into the room. "That's stolen property. This man broke into my office. Is that your signature?" Garrett's face flushed. "I can explain." "I'm sure you can." The marshal's deputies moved to flank Garrett. The sheriff's authority crumbled in the space of heartbeats. "What about her?" Garrett pointed at Ayanna. "She's still a fugitive. From what crime?" "Murder, theft, inciting rebellion. Got any proof?" Garrett's mouth opened and closed. No words came. Mrs. Hanson pushed into the room. "This woman saved my children. Saved half the town from cholera. She's been poisoning you. She's been healing us." More families gathered. The Hendersons, the Morrisons, the Kowalskis. People whose lives had been touched by Ayanna's medicine. "This woman is a saint," Mrs. Morrison said. "She warned us about the raid. Saved our children." "She's a hero," added Mr. Henderson. "Worked day and night to help our baby." The testimonies piled up. Family after family speaking truth. Garrett's lies crumbled under the weight of genuine gratitude. Marshal Thompson looked at Ayanna. "Seems like you've made some friends. I've tried to help." "Why?" "Because children." We're dying, because I could stop it. The simplicity of her answer carried weight. No grand speeches, no justifications. Just the quiet truth of someone who chose to heal rather than harm. Hoofbeats echoed outside. Chief Running Bear appeared. In the doorway, 4 warriors flanked him. Their presence changed the room's atmosphere. Marshal. Running Bear's English was careful but clear. We come to speak for our medicine woman. Your medicine woman? Ayanna Windwalker. She was banished for saving white children. Now she saves all children. Comanche and white together. Thompson absorbed this. You're offering protection? We offer partnership. Peace between peoples. She will be bridge. And if I arrest her, then you arrest the only hope for peace in this territory. The weight of decision settled on the marshal's shoulders. He could enforce the letter of the law, arrest Ayanna for nebulous charges, destroy the fragile alliance building between communities. Or he could choose wisdom over regulation, choose healing over enforcement. Dr. Whitmore, you'll vouch for this woman? With my life. And you, Chief Running Bear? You'll guarantee her conduct? She is family. We protect family. Thompson nodded slowly. Then I see no crime here, no fugitive. Just a healer doing her work. Garrett's face went white. This is outrageous. She's Indian. She's dangerous. The only dangerous person here is wearing a badge. The marshal's deputies moved forward. Garrett's arrest was swift. Quiet. Justice served without fanfare. As the commotion settled, Ayanna felt hands on her shoulders. Ezra and Clementine had appeared beside her, a family reunited. You came back, Clementine whispered. I had to. People needed help. We needed you. The words carried weight beyond their simplicity. Ayanna looked at the faces around her. Dr. Whitmore, the grateful families. Chief Running Bear, Tobias with his quiet strength. She reached into her pocket, drew out the carved wooden horse, her son's gift. Her reminder of loss and love. This was my son's. She placed it in Clementine's hands. He would have wanted you to have it. But it's yours. Now it's yours. To remember that love doesn't end. It just finds new homes. 6 months later, the clinic thrived. Ayanna worked beside Dr. Whitmore, treating patients from both communities. The bridge between worlds had become a highway of healing. Ezra's ranch prospered. Water flowed to neighbors regardless of origin. Children played together in the yard. Laughter replaced fear. Tobias wore a deputy's badge. His quiet authority had earned respect from settlers and Comanche alike. Justice had found an unexpected champion. The carved horse sat on Clementine's bedside table. She had learned to speak Comanche words, had mastered the preparation of healing teas, had discovered that courage came in many forms. Ayanna stood in the clinic doorway at sunset. The desert stretched endlessly in all directions. Once it had been her enemy, her place of exile and suffering. Now it was home, the space between worlds where healing happened, where strangers became family, where the broken found wholeness. She touched the medicine bag at her waist, felt the weight of responsibility and hope. Tomorrow would bring new patients, new challenges, new opportunities to choose mercy over vengeance. The sun painted the sky red and gold. A storm was building on the horizon, but storms passed. Healing endured. Love found its way across any distance. In the growing darkness, lights flickered in windows. Comanche and settler, doctor and healer, father and daughter, all part of the tapestry she had helped weave. The desert had tested her. The exile had broken her, but this place, these people, had rebuilt her. One patient at a time, one act of mercy at a time, one choice to heal rather than harm. She was no longer the woman who had been left to die. She was the woman who chose to live, to help others live, to build bridges where others saw only chasms. The carved horse caught the last light of day, a symbol of loss transformed into hope, of love that transcended death, of the healing that came when broken people chose to mend each other. And that is all to the story for now. Please let me know where you are tuning in from. Perhaps we will create a story there. Consider liking this video and subscribing to Kasia, our channel. And if you enjoy our content, click this video on your screen. I promise you, it's worth watching. See you tomorrow.